This is the Dick and Conversation podcast. I'm Elissa. If this is your first time seeing me or hearing me, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've heard me before, welcome back. You probably are hearing me on Amazon, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, or YouTube, or you're probably watching me on Spotify or YouTube. 'Cause that's where you can see me. To contact me, my socials are Dick and Conversation _ podcast, and that is on Instagram. I have the Dick and Conversation podcast Facebook page. I also have the YouTube channel, Dick and Conversation podcast. I'm also on TikTok, Dick and Conversation. And I'm also on Threads with the same thing as my Instagram, Dick and Conversation _ podcast. And I'm also on Blue Sky at dickandconvo.bsky.social. You can always email me at dickandconvo@gmail.com. I first of all want to say I needed a break. So I took a couple weeks off, but I have to say thank you to Angel and Viv, who were my guests. Those two ladies were outstanding, and they're friends, and they're funny, and they're smart, and they're beautiful, and they're deep thinkers, and they know how to think outside the box. So doing an episode with them was so easy. One, we're friends, and two, we used to work together, so we're trauma bonded. We worked in the same corporate structure, so we're a little trauma bonded. And just, we're kind of in the same age range. So talking about dating and getting older and perimenopause for some of 2/3 of us, that was so simple. And Viv, because of you, I had to give the disclaimer. I've never had to give the disclaimer. I had that bad boy like in my back pocket or in my pocketbook just in case, but I didn't think that this would be the episode where I'd have to deliver it, but I did. So thank you, Viv, for allowing me the opportunity to pull out my disclaimer for an episode of Dick and Conversation podcast. I do enjoy the fact that I had to use it. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you have to go back to the Angel and Viv episode, Dating Over 40 and 50, and listen, because there is a certain point where Viv says something. I was like, but ladies, thank you. Here's what's interesting. As soon as we wrapped that episode and I published it, I had a million more questions that I wanted to ask you all, and I didn't. But, hopefully you all will come back on later and I can ask those questions that I didn't get a chance to ask. So I have more questions, ladies. I do want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, I've been busy working. I got a promotion at work in corporate America. Like I said, this is my passion project. And I've been working in corporate America. So I've been working on a new project that's going to take about a year and a half, I believe it is. And sometimes when you're working, and because this is new, I'm trying to find my way in the corporate structure and in the role. So I was like, okay, I won't do an episode this week. I'll just keep promoting the one from last week, which I did. And not only that, promo from other ones, because if you're new to this, go back and this is my 5th season. Go back and listen to some of the previous episodes from previous season, and you'll discover that I've talked about a plethora of things. That's one of my favorite words. I've had a plethora of topics that I've discussed, and a plethora of interesting, fabulous, smart, entertaining, and informative guests that have been here. Now, before I go further, I always need to explain why the name Dick and Conversation podcast. I was a traditional wife, at home mother, and basically I would live hand to mouth, my ex-husband's hand to my mouth. And for whatever reason, the marriage fell apart. I ain't gonna say whatever reason. He fell out of love with me, fell in love with somebody else. It happens every day. And the marriage fell apart. I filed for divorce, and I had to start all over. And I had no bed, no job, no insurance, no car, no place to stay. And I started all over. But with time, I began to amass everything I lost, and I had my 2 twins in tow as we began to rebuild our lives, and I began to date again. And as Larissa says, piss in the dating pool. But I began to date again. And when those dating excursions did not pan out well, because of whatever reason, sometimes them, sometimes me, simply, we weren't each other's person. I learned that I didn't take a loss and I never had to start all over again. So my purpose and premise in this podcast is to encourage women and to empower and encourage women and educate men at times that no one should be so deeply embedded into your life that if they leave or you leave them, you don't have a place to even lay your head. The only thing that that man should leave out of your house with is his dick and his conversation. And that's where the name comes from. So that's why it is this provocative name. And if you're thinking like, oh my God, that's something woo woo. Yeah, I mean, there you got to go back and have seasons 1 and 2. There's some woo woo episodes like, woo, what was she doing? Different era. I was dating. Hey, I was trying to figure it out. But that's the reason why I have this podcast name. So I want everyone to know. So that's the thing. I'm trying to drive, followership and, viewership of my podcast. So spread the word. It's like, hey, have you heard this podcast? That's one thing that I've been doing. Trying to do that along with working in corporate America. And while I'm promoting my podcast, there's a new podcast that is coming and I want to promote it. It is called Three the Hard Way, and it will be hosted by three men that I find to be extremely fascinating, knowledgeable, and entertaining. Kevin Marshall, who has the Marshall Media verse, like the Marvel verse. Daye, he does the It's Something Every Yay podcast, little play on words, and Jody Nunn. I'm not familiar with Jody, but I think I need to dig into Jody Nunn. But with those other two in company, I have no doubt, and I mean no doubt, that it would be outstanding. So it's coming, three different personalities, and they don't care about how you feel about it. And if that doesn't tell you how it's going to be, I don't know what will. So also, along with what I've been doing with work, I gotta be honest, I've been tired. Like, as tired. I mean, John Coffee tired. I've been tired just physically, mentally, emotionally. Not spiritually though, because me and God have been hanging. I've been drawing nearer to God, even drawing nearer to me. But I've been tired. And at one point, I even shut down where it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody because I was shouldering a lot personally, just mentally. I was going through something personally, still is. I'll tell about it later. I always say I never talk about something in the present because it's too emotional. But I'll tell you what's happening later. It makes sense if you mean. But I just didn't want to do it. And I am one of those people that everyone comes to when they want to talk to me about something going on with them. If it's something heavy, something emotional, something they're struggling, they want me to pray for them or give them an encouraging word or scripture or something like that. And I'm that person. We all know that one person. More often than not, we as women are that person. We are the support system. We are the lifeline. We are the air. We're the IV that's running in the veins of our support system, family, friends, co-workers, our children, our parents, siblings. And that tends to happen. And an occasion, when you have your own weight and the weight of others, it weighs you down. And that's where I had gotten, is that a word? That's where I had arrived at. I was overwhelmed mentally and emotionally, and I just had to take a step back. And sorry, family and friends, it happens. But my family and friends were very supportive, very understanding. And I'm like, I just don't feel like talking. I can't hear it right now. I can't hear your problems. I'm dealing with my own. It's heavy. It's heavy. And I will say, for women, a lot of us carry a lot. And just because we carry it well, this is very cliche, just because we carry it well does not mean that it's not heavy. And I was carrying something that was very heavy. So I did have some who were just like very supportive, like, hey, you good? Yep, I'm good. Check on me. Handsome young man, are you okay? Yeah. You doing? Yeah, I'm good. But I was tired. Like, I was tired. Plus, I'm still dealing with this new onset of perimenopause, and I take naps when, unexpected. I am not a nap taker where I just say, oh, I'm finna go lay down and take a nap. That's not me. I'm one of those things where I'm watching TV and I'm waking up like, ooh, I was asleep. My God, that's me. So I was just, on top of being mentally exhausted and physically exhausted and dealing with perimenopause and trying to wrap my mind around my new role at my job. I just got tired. Like I was tired. I didn't want to be bothered. Anybody ever get that way? I know you do. I know we all do, and especially if you are over 40. Hell, I don't know if you're over 40. If you go over out of high school, maybe some of these high school kids are just tired. I just wore down. Like I can't do it no more. I can't do it no more. And I do it that way so that I don't bite anyone's heads, don't bite anyone's head off. And unfortunately, I still had a little casualty of war who was getting their head bit off. I'm sorry. I'm telling you now, I'm sorry. I'm saying it on the podcast. I'm sorry. I was a little Miss Cranky Pants. I was a little Miss Cranky Pants, but you hung in there. so, so thank you for hanging in there when I was being Miss Cranky Pants. So I do appreciate that. But I do want to say, while I was down, while I was taking my mental hiatus sabbatical in my room, in my bed, I started rereading. I wasn't rereading. I was reading Shay's book. Now, Shay, I'm getting there. Shay, I've been reading Shay's book for a minute now. I got to the point where I'm writing in the margins, and I do need to have Shay back once I finish the book because it's good. I messed up by having Shay on the show, on the podcast before I read the book, but now I'm reading the book and it's like, ooh, Shay, I gotta have you come back because it's a part in this book. And I'm not gonna tell you all of what's in the book, but this one particular part I want to talk about where she have guests and they talk about getting what they need from someone other than their partner. And I was like, ooh, oh, that's deep. Do you go to someone other than your partner to get what you need? And I'm not talking about money and I'm not talking about sex or, it could be that, that's not, it does happen. But in there, I was reading, I was like, oh, let me make a note in the margin about that. Oh, hold on, Shay, I want to ask you about that. But it got me to thinking there was a time when, and even now, there is a time where if there are things that I need from my partner, partner is, whatever. Even when I was married, there were times when I needed things from my husband or needed things. And I didn't go to my husband, I went to somebody else. Not another man always, but sometimes I did. Sometimes there were other men that were in my life that understood me and the situation and my feelings and thoughts and beliefs more than my ex-husband or husband at that time. And it has happened while I've been dating that sometimes I need that empathetic voice or I need, this is gonna sound real bad. Oh, hell, but it is what it is. Where you need a higher level of intelligence on a particular situation or topic, and your partner just doesn't get it. They just don't understand where it is, what you're thinking. Not that they're ignorant. Well, okay, I guess that's the word. They are ignorant. They're just not well versed in the topic that you need to discuss. And sometimes you just need to have a true deep dive discussion with a man outside of your partner. So I have had to do that in the past, but in reading Shay's book, Sip and Chat Lounge is available on Amazon. Shay Parker, go in there and get it. I've had to do that. So in reading that book, I'm going like, there's some advice and some things I agree with, and there's some things I'm like, So Shay, as soon as I hit that back page and close that back cover, I will be probably bothering you to come back on so we can discuss not just that, but other things, co-parenting and dating and being the bonus mom and the bonus dad and things like that. So I did want to give her a little promo, but also talk about that particular topic because I have been there and still is at times where I have people that I rely on to have certain topics or to discuss certain things, but they are not the best resource that I need for emotional support. And I go to maybe an ex or somebody else I used to date or old friend or just another man that has a male voice. And sometimes I have to go to them as my source as opposed to someone I'm relying on as a partner. Happens, but it does. So I'll be touching back on that and other things. So as soon as that book is good, I gotta tell you that was good. Um, that brings me to the topic of old dogs, new tricks. I wanted to talk about this subject because I should have discussed this with Viv and Angel because this would have been an amazing topic because we had discussed dating in your 40s and 50s and me being, well into my 50s. I'm 53. I have no problem admitting it. I have no problem admitting it. I'm nickel tray. At this point, when you're dating someone and you feel or think they are who they are, they're not going to change, or can they change? And I know along the way, I have subscribed to the idea of not trying to change a person that you're in a relationship or friendship or situationship or jump off or whatever ship you in that you cruising along in, to not try to change them and accept them as who they are. But it does become inevitable if you're around each other enough and you communicate enough that change will happen. You will pick up their habits. They will pick up yours. You will pick up their lingo. They will pick up yours. And they will evolve into not a form of you, but they will evolve into aspects of your personality and adopt them as their own. And you will do the same with them. Some of the things that they say and do, you'll do. I didn't have to tell this. I was dating this guy. I was dating, or whatever we was doing. This guy. And I'm a person who will break out in a song while you're talking, and it's kind of a corny thing to do, but it became a couple thing to do. At first, it was just my thing that I was doing that was kind of corny, and then later I noticed that he began to do it. And the funny part was, I told him when we started getting closer. I said, you know what, you're gonna start doing this too. Like, no, I won't. That's just, it's dumb. I would never do that. That was his response. I said, I think you probably will. And so over time, as we began to do communication, and I noticed at one point he did it. He broke into a song where it was just a word. And, for example, if I'm just saying, "Lo, you know what? I'm trying to not go to. Probably need to go to the doctor. I don't feel like great, but I'm holding on. I'm just say holding on, like hold it on, and just break into a song." And he thought it was the corniest thing. Like, that's so corny. That's corny. Who does that? And then he started doing it. So if a man who's over 40 or 50 can adapt to those little habits, it is possible to have someone evolve into something other than just those little quirky things. If he's not a very empathetic person, and you notice like you're not a very empathetic person, what I have discovered is perhaps sometimes they don't know what empathy looks like. That's my favorite little saying when it comes to these relationships. Sometimes they just don't know what it looks like. And I have always believed, instead of asking a man that I'm dating, like, I need you to be this way, I need you to say that. This is what I need. And yes, you can ask for what you need, but sometimes it will become, you're met with resistance if you're just asking them to change. Because I would do the same thing if you asked me to change. Like, this is how you met me. This is how you found me. This is who I am. And, you can kind of like say, well, maybe I'm not your person. But if you show what empathy looks like, and over time, I do believe, and I have witnessed old dogs learning new tricks and learning how to be empathetic. And I'm saying that because I know an old dog that is slightly changing, learning some new tricks. And I think it's just, Sometimes they can evolve into a person that's a support system or dating or whatever, partner, whatever they are. And it comes through modeling, where you model to them what you want, and eventually they will pick up on it without you having to directly ask and be met with resistance just because of stubbornness. So I didn't get a chance to talk to Viv and Angel about that. And astonishing figures and Larissa and all the women I've had on here. Coffee, all the women, all the single women I have had on here. Indeed, Gen Z. Does Gen Z encounter this as well? So that was the thing that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm needing in my 53-year-old life of trying to date and find a partner and discover how I mesh, how we mesh, how I compliment them, they compliment me, and we move forward without trying to change one another, but let it become an organic evolution, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. It does in my head. So, that's just that matters. And not only that, sometimes physically, you have to, physically you might not be compatible. Y'all might not do that. And you might have to teach that old dog some other kind of tricks. He might have to teach you some tricks. I have a million dirty jokes rolling through my head, but I'm not gonna say them right now. But sometimes you gotta teach that dog a new trick too, Sometimes you gotta teach a old dog how to hunt a new path, new different kind of animal. What the tricks they was doing. Yeah, I ain't that kind of dog. I don't do that. Yes, I am making myself laugh, only because I hope people are picking up what I'm laying down. No, pun intended. Pun intended. This wasn't going to be a really deep one. I did just want to get on here because I needed to come out of this funk that I was in, because it was bad. And I usually, if I'm in a bad mood, I can usually pinpoint what it is, but this one lasted so long. It was about 2 weeks. And I was just like, I can't record. I just can't record. I'm too emotional, and I might get to talking about stuff I really shouldn't talk about, or get to talking about stuff that's from the past, too deep in the past, and I get mad all over again, get to calling names and calling folks out their names. That's ugly. So I didn't want to do that. So I needed to take a step back. And I'm saying to women and men, if you're listening, sometimes you have to put the phone down. I can make you put the phone down. And that's what I mean about the corny breaking the song. I can make it. So sometimes you have to put your phone down. You can't text back. You can't chime in into the group text, into the group chat. You just can't. You just don't have it. You're tired. You're tired from your own mess. You tired from other people's mess. And you just have to say, I can't do it. I'm tired. I was tired. I even had to tell my mama. I just can't, Mom. I can't. When she want to talk to me about something, like, she said, I'm wearing you down. Like, no, I'm just already worn down, and I just could not do it. And there is nothing wrong with you taking your step, taking your control of your peace back. I always say, people love to say, oh, protect your peace, until you're protecting your peace from them. Then it's like, what's wrong? So I just had to protect my peace from everybody. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 people that I talked to regularly that were allowed to get through. One being my ex-husband, which is, weird. He called, I'm answering. But it was like 2 or 3 people that they could get through. Everybody else I had to put on pause. And I had a conversation with my niece, she's a psychologist, a real one. She's a real one, with the doctor, with the dissertation that can be found on the internet, not like some folks. I ain't saying no names, I am, Brian. But I had a conversation with her, and not a therapy session. She's just happened to be a psychologist that I talked to because she's my niece, and she's fabulous because she's my niece. And just talking with her, she said, Lissa, you just have to do that. And she said she feels that way too. And I was like, I can't imagine what it must feel like for you, because you have to listen to people's problems for a living. Like, that is your profession. That's what you do every day, all day. How do you do it? And she says sometimes she has to take a step back and shut down as well. She said, and I said, well, how are you going to reset? She said, I don't think I am. I think this is my new normal. And I agree. Not that I'm cutting everybody off, but I have to reestablish a boundary of contact and empathy and taking on hearing others' issues, because when I have my own, the weight is just too much. And we as women take it on. I don't know if it's because we're natural nurturers and we just want to be caregivers, but sometimes we just can't do it. We love our family, we love our friends, we love our mans, my mans, my mans, my mans. But sometimes we just can't do it. And I'm saying to any woman like myself, because I'm preaching to myself right now, I'm preaching to the choir. It's okay to do that. It's okay to say, I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear it. I know you're having a hard time, but I just don't want to hear your hard time right now. I can't handle your hard time and mine. And even if you're not having a hard time, you just don't want to hear their hard time, there is nothing wrong with saying that and establishing that boundary and protecting your peace. And with that, you've been watching and listening to the Dick and Conversation podcast. I'm Elissa. You've been listening to me on Amazon, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, or YouTube. Once again, you can always find me on my social media, Dick and Conversation _podcast, on Threads and Instagram, the Dick and Conversation podcast Facebook page, and the Dick and Conversation podcast YouTube channel. You can reach out to me on my email, dickandconvo@gmail.com. And you can reach out to me also, and well, no, everybody don't reach out to me. You can also find me on TikTok, Dick and Conversation podcast, and also on Blue Sky, which is dickandconvo.bsky.social. Once again, I'm Elissa, and thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.